What's going on, guys? We're back for another video. This time we're back working on the CRESSIDAs, and what I'm doing today is some paintings. The parts I gotta paint are my front fenders, so let me show you where I am at with that. Over the weekend I went ahead and primered these. I don't really like the primer that I bought. It's Restoration Shop primer, and I've always had a problem trying to get this stuff to lay flat. So this fender has been sanded down with 400, and I've got almost everything done except for this little area, which I kind of have to do by hand. It's really tough. I'm almost there. The whole fender itself is probably like 70% sanded, where there are some low spots still, and that's what all the dark areas are, but I'm getting there and it's smoothing out. I do want to leave a little bit of material. I'm not going to sand it like 100% because I'm going to go to the 600 step, and I'm going to want to be able to work that in where it's a little bit finer to get out the rest. All right, now the fender on this side, I haven't touched yet. And up close, you can tell, you can see the orange peel. Obviously that's when they merge the pieces. There's a little bit, it's not smooth, so I'll do my best to sand that out, but I don't care at this point to put more filler on here to smooth everything out. I'll just live with, you know, the little roughness of right here and whatnot. But you can tell that there is rough, and I definitely didn't want to put paint over this orange peel because it's not gonna come out. So the best thing you can do is between steps, if you notice orange peel, sand all that crap out so that way the next layer of paint goes on smooth, or has an opportunity to go on smooth. I'm no pro painter yet, so my stuff is still kind of it's got that eggshell look to it. Over time, I'll get better at dialing in my gun and get better, but for now, I gotta put in the elbow grease, and that's sand these things down so that way when I do paint them, I got a smooth surface to paint on. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and work on this area. I'll just show you guys real quick. For majority of the sanding I did it on this foam 3M sanding pad. I wish I could use bigger blocks, but there's so many different curves that this works best. I still have issues like in this curve with the block, and I do my best to get it with this, and you know, different directions and whatnot. Normally, like if this is 400 and I'm going to 600, you kind of want to sand it one direction, and then when you go to do 600, you come in at another direction, so that way you can take out your previous sanding marks and easily identify that you're getting out your previous grit sand scratches and replacing them with the higher grit sand scratches. But with this fender and the way it's shaped and contoured, you really don't have that option to, you know, like cross-hatch your sanding steps. I'm gonna go ahead and guide coat it before I start sanding with my 600, so the guide coat can help me identify the 400 grit scratches, and I can try to remove them better with the 600. But for now, let's work on this area and I'll show you. You don't really put too much pressure on there, especially when you're doing this by hand. You don't want, like, as you can see, this is a heavy line right here and one streak right here. Do your best not to push down too much in one area. You kind of want to just be able to sand this all uniform. And all these spots are a little bit tricky, so I'm just going really slow and enough to actually just get that light gray color to pop out and get rid of all the dark areas. That way you know the paint is level. You can kind of move on to your next step. All these parts are super hard to get, you know, a sanding pad in there. So that's why I'm just, you know, doing it by hand. Another way to tell if you're done with an area, if you do not like visually see it, is actually rubbing your finger over it. You can tell by a feel if it's still bumpy. Even though this isn't 100%, it feels very smooth. The areas that are not, closer to like 50% sanded down, you can feel it and it's a little more bumpy, like down here. So like this whole fender isn't done yet. I actually do need to hit it with some more 400 in certain areas before I'm happy enough to go to the 600 step. Now that I'm done sanding this area, I'm gonna go ahead and use my air compressor to blow all this stuff off, and then wipe it down so I actually can see, because a lot of the dust does hide the work I've done, and again, just clean the dust off so that way you can actually see what the panel looks like. For the next step, in order to make sure you get out all the 400 grit scratches when you move to 600, I have guide coat. Now there's spray paint guide coat, there's this powder stuff. I think the powder stuff works better. I also was cheap early on and used black spray paint, but I don't think spray paint works as well as the legit guide coat stuff. So let me show you how this works. I mean, it's just the powder. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some powder on the pad. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and get it and rub that stuff in. Rub it in everywhere, make sure you get good coverage. Okay, there you go. My fender has a nice coverage of this stuff, and so now when I switch to 600, I'll be able to see what progress I made. So, sticky sandpaper on my pad, which is dope. So I'm stoked to use this, and let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you, you know, how I sand this down. The guide coat, you can pretty much go until the guide coat's gone, and that's your plan. So keep sanding. You can kind of see there are some areas where I still need to finish up, but now that I've sanded it into 600, my, you know, the primer I still need to sand down. I can still see specks, but I'm closer to about 90% now. So trying to shoot for 100, you're definitely going to burn through the primer. So you don't want to do that. Like I can already tell right here that there's a little bit of white coming through here. I'm like, ugh, so I got to stop in this area. You know, it all comes with practice on when to stop, but you know, by feel, this stuff is nice and smooth. So I might just leave it. There's some areas right here on the top that I need to work in, so I'll keep sanding those areas down. I sanded to 600 till I thought I was good, right? And then I wiped everything down with wax and grease remover to get all the dust off. And so this is what my fender looks like now. I'm gonna leave it like that. I think that's good enough. I probably need to work in this area. You can tell, like, even through the camera, that it's a little bit shiny. So a couple of areas I'll need to work in. There's another area which is really tough, because like this area is good, that area is good, but I still need to do just in there, which is, oh, it's so tough. Okay. And I kind of have to do some areas in here by hand. The 600 sticky paper isn't that flexible, and it's really hard to get it to go in the corners, so I might just need to go get a couple of sheets of 600 and do it like how I did it with the 400. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side, probably not do any footage just because it's more of the same stuff I'm doing. You know, sand, guide coat, sand, and wipe it down, and my plan is to make sure that other fender looks like this one. Alright, so I went up and finished sanding the fenders, and now it's time to paint, so I'm in my makeshift paint booth. Literally a 10 by 10 tent that I put some drop cloth around to keep the overspray from going over to the neighbor's side. But I have my fenders here. And my fenders, they're sanded, they're ready for paint. I already wiped them down with prep spray. There's my gun holder and the airline, and in here is where I'm mixing my paint. I've already mixed my first batch. It's 1-to-1. I'm using PPG shop line paint, which is just kind of like the economical paint to paint my CRESSIDA. Nothing fancy. It's just the regular silver, which I used to paint the other parts. I had some left over, and then I had to go buy a quart today. So, yeah. Try to keep the door closed so that way I don't get overspray in the house or in the garage. So now I got my paint gun loaded. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure my air pressure looks good. It's a little high. I'm gonna start about 25 psi, and go ahead and spray my test area, see how it comes out. Close at the rear. I think I like that. It's nice and soft on the edges. A little bit more air pressure. That looks good. So I'm going to start on the back sides first and get the tough areas, because I'll do this last because I don't want the overspray from doing the back and the sides to mess up the top parts. So let's go ahead and go around the back and hit these parts first. That looks like a good first shot, so I think I'm happy with that. Do the same to this other side. Make sure you have enough space so that way you can keep the gun, you know, equal distance and that you're not reaching around. I mean, this is already kind of tough, but you know, I'll work with what I got. This is gonna be a little issue. The plastic is coming towards me. Obviously it's going to be tough to get the very, very bottom, but the side skirt comes up to about here, so I'll do my best to get, you know, the bottom. Before I start doing the main part of the panel, I'm going to try to get into the vents areas. Again, I don't want to build up too much paint, but I also want to get good coverage, so I'm going to just go ahead and try to get into those areas. I think I'm happy with that, so overspray seems to be going this way, so I'm going to do this panel first and then do that one next. Really surprised at the quality. It's laying down fairly flat, so yeah, that is coat 1. So we'll wait 10 minutes and I'll lay down the second coat. Now let's see how much paint I have. If I did my math right, that should be enough paint to do 2 more coats. Alright. It's kind of hard to hear me because I forgot to wear my mask the first round, so that just probably took a little bit of time off my life, but this time I remembered. But with the mask on, you can't really hear me talk, so Mask on, and we're ready for base coat layer number 2. Okay, let's lay down another layer. How can I stop this from touching? Oh, fuck it. It is what it is. And did 3 coats on this. I got a little bit of specks, and I think it's just dust, but this one came out a lot better. It's definitely smooth, and I'm stoked on the finish. It looks very uniform, so like all the sanding I did, there were some sanding scratches. I can't see any of that, so I'm super stoked. Did a good job sanding. So it's all silver. It's very flat because there's no clear on it, and that's the next step. So I got about 15 minutes until I can actually put the clear on. So let's go back inside. And so now I got to clean up my guns to prep it for the clear. I'm not sure if this is even necessary given all the dust, but at least there's no dust ones in my paint gun. Alright, let's do the same shit as last time, so let's start on the back. Not sure what the fuck happened here. What the hell that is. That sucks. And over here too. This is 2 coats of clear. You can see how it came out. I don't know what the hell happened there and over there on the other fender, but I'm pretty stoked at how this is coming out. Got 1 more coat to go. Got 10 minutes to wait, and yeah, that's how it's coming out. I don't know if you know bash bars off, because that's what's going to get painted next. What's up?
Last year, it was all about.
Get back out here. I just laid a fresh coat of black on my bash bars, and I'm about to load up the gun with clear and some flake. And we're gonna go ahead and flake this bad boy. So yeah, give me a couple minutes to go ahead and mix some paint, and we're gonna go ahead and flake this. Okay. So some clear. We'll see how I do this. Maybe I just won't layer clear on top. I don't know.
I would say you should, just because.
Make it good for the first time? Okay, so how much do I want to put in? I don't know. So, we have flake. in there. Go and mix it in. Ooh, it's chunky. Get a good mix. Oh yeah, look at that. What do you think? Should be cool, right? Need a glove and need my mask. No filter because it'll filter out all the glitter flake, so just put it straight into your gun. Alright, let's go. Alright, so I am done painting for today. We went ahead and cleaned up. It's time to watch Formula Drift, and you can kind of see it in the background. We're watching Formula Drift. But yeah, let me show you exactly what the paint looks like now, and I'll actually show you my bash bar, which is pretty freaking awesome. Here is the fender now, and it's pretty dry. I think it's dry. Yeah, it's dry. It came out pretty good, other than those weird specks that I have to probably wet sand out. But I'm super stoked at how it came out. It's super glossy. A little bit of eggshell finish, but not as bad as the stuff I had to work on before. Other fender is even better. It's kind of hard to see because it's against the car, but yeah. We'll install those later. Alright, so let's go to the bash bar. Now the bash bar looks so sick in the sunlight. That's the flake. So it was literally one coat of this flake and then one coat of clear. I don't really care too much about the quality of this, or because it's gonna get scratched anyways. But I'm super stoked at how it looks because this is gonna look pretty awesome on the back of my car. And that's how you flake stuff. Well, that's it for today's video. So if you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. And we'll catch you guys in the next episode. See you later.